Today, we have another myth. This never ends. You guys are saying programmers are mythical creatures. I think it's true. They have lots of myths. Today's myth is real programmers hate JavaScript. Let's see if this is true or not. So, we'll start off with what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a web browser which is also dynamic and responsive. And I'm guessing this is also an old language. So why did this myth come true? I'm trying to cheat off my old notes. So this is old because it started in 1990s and has weird functionality, saying, for example, variables can easily change and etc. And why they also hate it? Because there are better ones out there. So you guys are saying this is true. They haven't looked at it since ES6. What is ES6? Programmers hate it because it's a scripting language and not programming. ES6 is a JavaScript release a few years back. Oh, so people actually haven't been using JavaScript? So the reason why you guys are using this is that it's just so old that a lot of programs out there are still using JavaScript, and that even the new like, I don't know, is it framework? Am I supposed to say framework? But like, there's the example of TypeScript, but that is still using JavaScript. So it's not really changing from what we did. So since it's widely used, that's the word I'm looking for. But then I guess you guys are saying the new update of ES6, because of ES6, the new release a few years ago, it fixed a lot of issues. So what is a common issue that JavaScript was having that people were annoyed with? It's the only thing we can use to manipulate the browser besides the CSS. Oh. So some of the new releases that they had that made it perfect was array destructuring. Oh, that sounds fancy. And arrow function for quicker function writing and ternary condition. And then fix some method within JS. Oh. What is WASM? What is this? Is this a similar language for JavaScript? So guys, a WebAssembly. Why are you guys slang, man? So is it true that JavaScript is then a monopoly and you guys are kind of forced to use it? Like, there's no other options out there to win against JavaScript. I think we also talked about how since a lot of browsers, all the browsers out there have finally adjusted to JavaScript, and that also to Gears, that if there were other languages out there, then it's also hard to you know, make it universal. So what's that one thing you hate deeply so much about JavaScript? Like, let's say you got assigned to a task and it required you guys to use JavaScript. What's your worst memory with JavaScript? Biggest issue with JavaScript is that it isn't type safe, but it's fixed with TypeScript. Oh, what's type safe? I like JavaScript. Oh, really? Are you a programmer? You have to declare the type of variable when created. Oh, you have to define your constant, a string or anything. Ah. Oh, you actually have to define everything? Oh, it does. So it's for JavaScript, you have to give data type, and it didn't do that. I thought it doesn't identify what the data is. Lets you assign any type of variable to anything. Is that why they have like int? 뭐있냐? Int constant var 이건가? X can be int 1 minute and then string next. Oh. With TypeScript, you do. JS doesn't. It sucks when your project gets big and you're passing data around and you don't know the structure of the data. That can cause big problems at runtime. Oh. Sorry, there's no int. Oh, sorry. I'm actually not a real programmer. So this type safe issue is the biggest, but this is achieved by TypeScript. The second biggest issue is that JavaScript is jam-packed full of feature. Constant person equals number. Then person equals human. In Java or C, that would be an error. You can assign a variable to a number and then change it to a text. Oh. Most programmers prefer you know what you are using. Example, array have sort method, which is quick sort or merge sort, but in reality you have no idea. It changes on the size of the array. Oh. When there's type safe, you can't change it. When it's typed as a number, you can't change it to a string. You can't change string to array. So that's what. But it's doable in TypeScript. Or type safe is doable, works in TypeScript. Why? That's so confusing. JavaScript is like so open. And they give you a bunch of things. So there's so many things to do it. Wow. So if you are coding JavaScript, it would suck. The openness is nice when first learning. There isn't all this confusing boilerplate that throws you off. Because it's so open. Then you will know. But then in big projects. Okay, I remember what I want to say. So you can't really do coding. It's really hard to do coding in company with JavaScript if you don't know the person, because he might make one of your variables change to a number all of a sudden. And then the code will not work. And you don't know where it's going to work. That's so stressful. So then who do you blame it on? Do you blame it on yourself for not telling the person? So it needs... So there's so many comments related. So this requires lots of reading as well. You blame it on your lead for not using TypeScript? So the solution of people who hate JavaScript is actually to use TypeScript then. In theory, type safety is supposed to save us. I've seen a thing or two where it does not matter if it's TypeScript or JavaScript. It's just unreadable. So that's the conclusion. So can we conclude by saying, I think this myth is still out there. I think a lot of programmers, we do have a couple that are exceptional because you guys are still programmers. I don't know, maybe real programmers, but the reason why they hate JavaScript is because it can get messy. Like everything we talked about just now, we can just conclude it with, as the project gets bigger, the messier it gets. Oops, messier. Avoid that happening is using TypeScript, and if the company that you're in is using JavaScript but is not using TypeScript, then you go to your lead and say, hey, you better use this or else. It's 100% a myth. JavaScript was bad decades ago, but it's because it wasn't originally made to make all the crazy things we see on the web. So maybe nowadays they're okay with it. Long time ago it wasn't. I think it's also because JavaScript has been going on in 1990s, but you know how technology has been evolving to doing a lot of fancy stuff, and I'm guessing web pages also do a bunch of fancy stuff nowadays. The more fancier it gets, the more bug it's supposed to have, and if the JavaScript can't handle that, then it sucks for you guys. What is the most annoying, like, do I say action? Nowadays, you can make really powerful stuff with JavaScript and framework on top of it, like React for the front end or Node Express for the back end. So anything high level standpoint, what is the highest level? For me, who's a non-programmer, I don't understand what high level means. Like, what can it do? Like, it's not like I could hack someone. I'm guessing you don't even use JavaScript to hack someone, right? Or do you? What do you use when you try to hack someone? High level means like in general sense without going into detail. Well, like in JS, you don't need to write for loops. You can just use array method like .map. Oh, that's considered high? You don't use for loops anymore? Oh, TypeScript is dumb. Why? I specifically left web development because of the cesspool that JS and TS is in, all honesty. Enforce standards or not, it's just not good. Oh, that sucks. But what sucks about Node.js is that we are all taught how to use Node.js with packages only. Oh, what's so bad about package? Oh wow, no one uses for loops. Oh. So, can I just get a poll? Who hates JavaScript? You don't have to write it specifically out as I don't even know JS. Oh. I love JS mainly because I have almost never run across a problem someone else hasn't run into first. Ah, so you just Google. So maybe guys, it's somewhat busted. Maybe it's like, you know, like it's doable. Maybe it's not hate, but it's actually, we should change this to doable.